My good brother sent my love letter by mistake. I asked him to send it to the most beautiful girl in class, but he turned around and sent it to Bai Ningbing, the school's female leader. Afraid of his revenge, I gritted my teeth and dated him for half a year. Bai Ningbing treated me very thoughtfully and studied hard for me. Everyone said he was my dog, until one day he discovered the truth. I ran away, transferred schools that night, and never saw him again. But many years later, during an interview, the host asked the famous singer Bai Ningbing why her song Love Letter sounded so resentful. She snorted softly, her cold eyes swept over me, who was trembling in the audience. This question could have been asked to my agent, but I was stupid. Back to the morning I was late a few years ago, when I was pushed against the wall by my big brother Bai Ningbing for no reason. Bai Ningbing held 2 pieces of pink paper in her hand, her face flushed red, not normal. Why haven't you said anything yet? I heard her scolding tone but didn't dare to say anything, because she was holding the love letter I wrote, but it wasn't sent to her. Fang Yuan, what do you mean? Bai Ningbing asked me again. But this time, she read the content of the love letter. I've secretly looked at you so many times, taken so many pictures of you, that's exactly what I meant. I resolutely closed my eyes. Bai Ningbing, I like you, I want to be with you. Finally, I managed to run into the classroom before the homeroom teacher arrived. Bai Ningbing followed right behind. Fang Yuan, why is your face so red? My deskmate saw that I was not feeling well and asked. I quickly smiled and covered it up. Haha, it's so hot today, why is Bai Ningbing's face so red too? I reflexively turned to look at Bai Ningbing, who was leaning on the table, head tilted to one side, hand half covering her red face. Her eyes were staring at me, not knowing. I quickly turned my face away. I blamed all the blame on this confession without looking at the imperial calendar. This damn love letter was originally intended for Su Yue, but how did it end up in the hands of the famous young lady in the whole school? Fang Yuan, the person sitting behind, gave me 2 pieces of paper and looked at me suspiciously. You and Bai Ningbing were late together. Were you caught? I pretended not to hear. As a result, the piece of paper was snatched back. 1 piece was written by my good friend. He wrote a long apology, followed by an explanation. Fang Yuan, your love letter didn't have your name on it, and I took the wrong homework. As a result, it seems like I stuffed it into Bai Ningbing's homework. Enough. If only I had received this news yesterday, I wouldn't have been so late today. The next day, as soon as Fuang Vin rushed into school, Bak and Gung Bang grabbed her and asked her in the corner, "Didn't you tell me to wait for you? Because in the love letter it said, if you agree, just wait for me at the school gate tomorrow." That was the first time I saw the embarrassed look on Bak and Gung Bang's face, to the point that I understood that if I explained, I would definitely get into trouble. The second piece of paper was from Bak and Gung Bang. I remembered her handwriting was very naughty, but on the paper it was neatly written, "After school, wait for me." I used the corner of my eye to steal a glance at her seat. She was still slumped over, her hands still covering her face on the table, still placing the 2 pink pieces of paper carefully folded like treasures. Bak and Gung Bang and I had nothing to do with each other. She sat at the last table in row 20, I was the nail at the first table. The only time I interacted was when I was afraid of being late, so I took a shortcut and accidentally bumped into her while a male student was confessing to me. She sucked on a lollipop, lazily leaning against the wall, looking down at the love letter the male student gave her, not intending to accept it. I don't like good students. She took the lollipop out of her mouth, indifferently replying, I also don't like good students like you. Then, she turned her head, just in time to meet me, a good student who was absent-mindedly panting. So I implicitly understood that Bai Ningbing didn't like me. My family usually studies hard, but not excellently, and will never be able to pass Su Yue. Fong Yuan, you're also in 11th grade, haven't you ever won against Su Yue? Why don't you go confess to her? If you succeed, ask her to tutor you. If you fail, won't you affect her studies? Why not? I know someone in her class. I'll help you deliver the love letter. My friend's bad idea, but I really admired Su Yue a little. Being instigated by him like that made me even more horny. That night, I wrote a love letter. I've always been secretly looking at you. Unfortunately, if I could do it again, I would absolutely not listen to this good friend's bad attention. Bai Ningbing didn't know how long she had been waiting for me at the gate. As soon as school ended, everyone was anxiously running away. Only I wanted to linger a little longer, hoping to prolong the time for this person to leave. But clearly she not only didn't leave, but also patiently waited for me for nearly half an hour. There weren't many things. So long? Could it be that you're shy? No way, I immediately retorted. But when I raised my head, I saw Bai Ningbing's ears and nape red. She didn't say anything, just awkwardly covered her ears with her hands. It turns out the one who was shy wasn't me. On the way, we didn't say anything. I walked half a step behind Bai Ningbing. Her steps weren't as fast as usual, but slowed down to match my pace. I discovered that Bai Ningbing actually had a lot of friends on the road. Quite a few people greeted her, many of them with smiles. Walking home together, this was the only sentence Bai Ningbing said to me on the way. But the second sentence is, "Can I hold hands?" At the gate of my apartment building, I was stunned, raised my head to look at her a bit harshly. Before I could say anything, this person quickly turned her head away. Her earlobes became even redder. Nothing. I'm going, be careful on the road, see you tomorrow. Bai Ningbing and I just stayed together vaguely like that. Only then did I discover that she was not at all like what I had imagined. Sleep well, do your homework and remember to rest. Every night, she texted me simple words of concern and advice. The profile picture was a small black cat with beautiful blue eyes. Bai Ningbing said it was her cat. Su Yue picked it up. She didn't want to keep it, so I brought it home. Su Yue, I was momentarily startled. She and I were childhood friends. So, you know her? Yeah. Bai Ningbing suddenly raised her head to look at me. In school, Bai Ningbing and Su Yue were both famous people. The difference was that one was a young lady, the other was a raw material to get into Tsinghua University. Their families were both very rich. Bai Ningbing wasn't good at studying, and became a musician halfway through. Let me sing you a song in the practice room, after school. Bai Ningbing liked to play the guitar for me to listen to. Sometimes it was a song she wrote herself, called Public Fireworks, written for us. After she finished playing, she gently held my hand so I could feel the small calluses on her fingertips. Fong Yuan, I'm really happy that you like me. Bai Ningbing's chest was very warm. There were only the two of us in the room. She put down the guitar, hugging me tightly like a big dog. Fong Yuan, I want to take the entrance exam to the music academy, which is in the same place as your university. What do you think? But before I could answer this question, I saw Su Yue holding a book, standing outside the classroom window. His eyes looked at me calmly. Since when have you and Bai Ningbing been together? Su Yue sent me a message. As for why she and I had contact information, it was still thanks to Bai Ningbing. One time she was sick and asked for leave. I went to her house to look for her, but there was no one there. She immediately gave me Su Yue's contact information. If you can't find me next time, just go to her house. Wait for me to come back, I'll pick you up alone. You are in front of my house. I'm not at ease. I guess Su Yue asked this because of Bai Ningbing. How could she be curious about me? But after being with me, Bai Ningbing studied very hard, and her grades improved a lot. I can consider that I did a good job. I curled my lips and smiled, but the next second I could not smile anymore. The image Su Yue sent was a pink love letter. The handwriting was familiar, but the confession was completely different. Finally, at the bottom of the letter was a signature. The signature was mine, and the recipient was Suyue. I have a habit when writing. No matter what, I have to write at least 2 copies. Compare which version is better, then use that one. So I signed the best version. But because I wrote it in the middle of the night, when I finished, I was not in a good mood, and I clumsily stuffed them all together and gave it to my friend. So he gave both letters away. The letter with a name went to the Hugh Oi, the letter without a name stuffed in the homework went to Bak and Gungbang. Fuck you, you're hitting the wall. Then the next second, Su Yue sent a message. Fong Yuan, are you trying to provoke me? I wanted to explain clearly to Su Yue that I had sent her several messages. But she didn't reply, only seeing the message, busy with urgent matters. When I went to her house to look for her, there was no one there. There were also a few messages from Bai Ningbing in the messages, but I didn't reply to them. Before I finished dealing with Su Yue's matter, I couldn't face Bai Ningbing with a normal heart. Is Su Yue there? I went to her house, knocked on the door, but when I opened it, no one answered. The door wasn't locked. So, should I come in? I sneaked in, passed through the small garden to the living room, and saw Su Yue. She and Bai Ningbing were both alone. At the moment, she was sitting on the sofa sipping tea, with a guitar placed next to her. You're here. Her tone was as if she had arranged everything. I suddenly had a bad feeling in my heart. Fong Yuan, the next second, a tall figure came down the stairs. Bai Ningbing. She called my name, looked at me as she walked down the stairs, holding something in her hand. It was a look I had never seen before, a look of self-mockery, indifference, and mixed with sadness. Finally, I saw what she was holding. It was a love letter signed by Su Yue. After that, I ran for my life. I didn't even dare to turn around and look at them again. I also knew that Su Yue did it on purpose as you wished. Her messages followed closely behind. Now that you've lost her, it was clearly just a misunderstanding. I've already explained that the messages she didn't reply to were mistakes. But I've already decided to seriously date Bai Ningbing. Why do you have to get in the way halfway? But didn't you originally intend to confess to me? Su Yue's words were cold. Originally, it was a love letter to me. What does it have to do with her? 2 days later, Bai Ningbing didn't come to school. Everyone knew that she and I had a good relationship, so they came to ask me. I laughed it off and conveniently hid the transfer application behind me. Is she sick? I'm not sure. You two stick together all day long, don't you know? Afraid that the truth would be revealed later, I ran away. These days, I didn't even dare to open my phone. It just so happened that my parents had to leave because of work, so I went with the flow and transferred schools, saying goodbye to Bai Ningbing. After graduating, you follow him. The boss handed me a piece of paper and coldly ordered me, that damned ancestor is only suitable for a soft persimmon like you. Before I could refute, the boss threw me a sentence, increase the bonus if she does well, then give you a commission. I was the soft persimmon. I chuckled and sent the boss away, suppressing my desire to get a raise, revealing a tragic expression. The boss said she was only suitable for a gentle personality like me. Everyone laughed, only I was silent, looking at the bank card. At this rate, the money I saved for my younger brother would be gone. A few years ago, I failed the university entrance exam to enter a normal school. My major was also normal. It just so happened that my family had another younger brother. My parents' jobs were delayed, expenses also increased, and after a while, we became poor. I admitted that I had let Bai Ningbing down. This was a lesson that God had given me. Life with my younger brother was very difficult. In college, I worked part-time to earn money for living expenses. When I returned home for summer vacation, I had to tutor my younger brother. In order to save money, I tutored him myself. My grades did not improve and I was scolded. Brother, You are really an idiot. Occasionally, my younger brother would point to a word in a book and ask me, "Brother, how do you read this word?" It was the word ice in Ngungbang. And those 5 words were bin fam feo hoa, and there was a small heart in the lower right corner. I was stunned. Ice, the ice in Ngungbang. After graduating, I worked at a media company for 2 years. The previous star had an accident, so I was compensated and the contract was terminated. This time, I heard that the company had just signed a contract with a genius singer who had just returned from abroad and had a difficult personality. On the first day the assistant cried. "Does she have such a bad personality?" I slowly typed and asked the person. The other person, 2 seconds later, replied, "I bet you can't survive 20 minutes in her hands. I am a famous person with a good temperament in the company. Actually, I am lazy to care. Moreover, I just realized that not only can I not survive 20 minutes in her hands, but also by her side. Feng Yuan, how are you doing? This is at a bar. Every time I come here, I come to listen to the folk singer on stage while chatting with friends. The ice cubes in the wine glass make a sound. I squint and shake my head. It's still the same in terms of feelings too. I can't help but laugh out loud. My friend clinked glasses with me, saying, "If you're not looking for a girlfriend, I suspect you like boys. You're so handsome, you should be able to love a beautiful woman." Today, I wore a casual white coat. Moreover, when I went out, I washed my hair. The girls at the next table secretly glanced at me. After taking a sip of wine, I changed the subject. Did the singer on stage change today? Not only did the person change, but the style also changed. From folk music to English style. The girl wearing a hat, her English pronunciation was fluent, very sexy and very standard. The song sounded a bit familiar. I picked up my phone to listen to music. The woman at the next table came over to chat. "Can I buy you a drink?" I was momentarily absent-minded. Her eyes and eyebrows were somewhat similar to Bai Ningbing's. But I knew clearly she wasn't. I just didn't know why I was interested in asking. "Do you know what the name of the song the person on stage sang just now was?" She clearly didn't know, and felt a bit awkward. Next, a clear English sentence rang out from behind, "First love." The woman was wearing a mask, her hat covering most of her face. Only her voice made me realize it was the singer just now. The song and lyrics were written by me. I felt like she was staring at me. "Does it sound good? You have some peach blossom luck today." I used the music function, but until she finished singing, I still didn't recognize her. My friend clicked his tongue. The 2 women came to chat with that singer. Although they didn't show their faces, I think her temperament is definitely a beauty. Not interested. I lowered my head, continuing to look at my glass of wine. The wine was blue. I remembered that Bai Ningbing liked the color blue the most. And when that singer spoke Chinese, she sounded a bit like her. "What's that singer's name?" My friend didn't know and turned to ask the waiter. "Sir, what's her name?" "I don't know." The waiter also shook his head. It seems like she was a passerby, just came to sing for fun. Didn't take any money. She left right after singing. How strange. As for me, the melody she sang kept echoing in my head. I silently recited, "First love." The next day I was late. It was all because of the blue wine. Yesterday, I couldn't help but be greedy and drank a little too much. When I left the house, I saw a new friend notification on WeChat. There was also a message from my boss. But I only read half of it, saying that someone came to pick me up to go to the company today. Then he sent a photo of the license plate. I frowned. "Why are you suddenly so nice to me today?" Obviously, the company driver had never taken my turn to go. As soon as I went downstairs, the car was parked in front of the gate of my apartment complex. It was really too thoughtful. So I put a bird's nest on my head and dressed very casually, sitting in the back seat. I completely ignored the woman sitting next to me. The car slowly started. I had just put on my headphones and was about to open the novel I hadn't finished reading when a cold voice rang out beside me. "Are you blind?" Perhaps my love life has not been smooth since I was young. In high school, I sent a love letter and provoked 2 ancestors. The people I met later were all rotten peach blossoms. Rotten peach blossoms are fine, but they are also the kind that do not follow the flow, but are like straight lines that are entangled with each other. Because I met the ancestor that I did not want to meet the most. Just when I was at my most disheveled at work, Bai Ningbing glanced at me. I recognized her. That look, I could not mistake it. "Ah!" She laughed, making me even more frightened, not daring to look at her. "Looks like you recognized me. Long time no see. The journey to the company is only half an hour, but it feels like half a century. The music in my hands cannot save my frozen heart. The air conditioner carries Bai Ningbing's cold scent. It's as cold as her." I sneezed and quickly turned my head away. I thought Bai Ningbing wanted to mock me again, but she just tapped on the driver's seat. The air conditioner turns up the temperature a little. The news that made me suffocate even more than seeing Bai Ningbing again was her. She was the ancestor I had to deal with. This, all of them moved out. She criticized her singing practice room as soon as she arrived. Everyone was angry but didn't dare to say anything. They could only lower their heads and work silently, secretly complaining. Perhaps seeing me standing there in a daze, Bai Ningbing was annoyed. "Fang Yuan." I was startled. "Everyone is working." She squinted. Those beautiful eyes were sizing me up. I knew right away that this person was starting to find a reason to cause trouble with me. I hurriedly went to clean up the vase. But as soon as I picked it up, it was snatched back. The ancestor's expression became even more hateful. "If you break this thing, it won't last. Just go buy me a cup of coffee." Idiot. It should be iced Americano, no sugar. I didn't dare look at her, lowered my head and mumbled in reply. In my heart, I secretly cursed the arrogant Bai Ningbing. Later, Bai Ningbing went abroad to study at a famous music school. While she was abroad, she released a CD that had a great influence on the public. I'm sure she was still dug up. "Is the coffee good?" Bai Ningbing was drinking coffee, squinting at me again. "There are so many things to do as an agent. Can you do it?" I replied with a smile. Then, when she turned her head, she spat without any restraint. As a result, the next second, Bai Ningbing put down her coffee cup. Indifferently said, "Want to scold? Just scold." I heard that Bai Ningbing's hearing was very good. She could hear many small changes in the music. There was a kind of talent that ordinary people did not have. To the point that she could be arrogant from beginning to end. At that time, just after leaving, there were a few classmates who looked down on her, doubting the musical ability of Chinese people. As a result, they watched her surpass them one by one, and finally crushed them. The interviewer Bai Ningbing couldn't help but clap. It's really a great honor for our country. The lights on the stage focused on her. She was dressed simply and cleanly, with an elegant temperament, like a transparent piece of beautiful jade. She should have been arrogant, but she was very modest. She was nurtured by my motherland. I heard applause from below the stage. I also clapped along. At this moment, Bai Ningbing looked down. Our eyes met. Then she smiled. "Then I'll have to rely on my company and my first agent to take care of me in the future." I was so excited that I didn't dare look at her and avoided her. After transferring schools, I changed my phone number. I even re-registered WeChat, completely cutting off contact with the past. Maybe this was a good thing, that way no one would know. Not only did she not get first place in school, she also didn't become a doctor, but instead became a servant, Still having to serve this enemy Bai Ningbing. Good or not? Bai Ningbing was practicing the piano. I brought in coffee and she had just finished playing a piece. I nodded, good. But I remembered that she didn't know how to play the piano before. Bai Ningbing walked over, took the cup of coffee from my hand, and looked at me without blinking. Really? I felt a little uncomfortable. There were only the two of us in the room. The soundproof design made this place very private. I turned my head to find something to talk about. I remember you didn't know how to play the piano before. Then, you remember I didn't drink coffee before? I paused. Of course I remembered, because Bai Ningbing loved to eat candy, loved sweets in high school. Every day in her bag, there were a lot of candy. Always, for me, like a little hamster that loved the word food, along with the title of being in the top 20. There was a kind of opposite cuteness. Then why don't you eat candy now? At this moment, I wasn't looking for something to talk about to maintain my dignity, but I really suddenly wanted to know what she had been through these past few years. But Bai Ningbing just looked at me for a while and then sneered. What does it have to do with you? Bai Ningbing was very vengeful, not only vengeful but also had to tell the agent to roll his eyes at me. Deduct salary? I was startled when I heard this. This person was looking at the boss as if he was thinking about something. The boss was silent for a while, looked at me then looked at this ancestor. Obviously he couldn't afford to offend me. Bai Ningbing pointed at me and said, okay, deduct the lives of the workers, not the lives that are toys in your hands. I secretly gave in, already mentally prepared to be fooled by Bai Ningbing. But this person's next sentence asked, then what about raising the salary? The boss was silent, I was silent too. No, who is the boss in the end? Can it be increased? I admit that I am an ordinary person. Hearing this sentence my eyes lit up, staring at Bai Ningbing. But this person deliberately pretended not to see, asking again, really? Really? The boss clearly still couldn't bear to offend her, and could only grit his teeth and nod. Bai Ningbing was satisfied and waved his hand. Then her power of life and death belongs to me. Chow was really high. This show was playing tricks on me, and it seemed that he was dissatisfied with me because he considered the limits of the boss's trick on me. In fact, it was a scheme to gain power, and directly took the position from the boss's hands and snatched my power of life and death, and the number of digits of salary were all decided by her. The boss asked guiltily, but it must not exceed that limit. I can't give it more. Bai Ningbing smiled without smiling. As long as she makes me satisfied, I won't dare to say anything in between. Fine, the life of an employee is really not a life, it's a first love that is abandoned and then met again. Bai Ningbing was very satisfied with the feeling of arrogance, using money to play with in her hands. Do you hear that, Fang Yuan? Starting from today, you belong to me. Life still goes on as usual. Bai Ningbing, although she has the ability, but at the time when the flow is at its peak in the country, she needs opportunities even more. And opportunities are seized by the agent. There is Mr. Zhang at the dining table, an investor who has cooperated, the biggest investor of this variety show. I have met Mr. Wang before. I smile, pour tea, pour water, and raise my glass again. After 3 rounds of drinking, I start to feel confused but still the same. The woman's hand passes over the glass, touches the back of my hand, her tone is ambiguous. I heard you change to a new host, it seems you are not very thoughtful? Today I did not tell Bai Ningbing about this meeting. I know, with her temperament, not only will she not come, she can also ruin things. And this variety show music is her best opportunity. For both work and personal reasons, I want to seize it for her. Hi, she is busier than me, she has time. The woman was even more casual. We are old but we know how to love people. I think your father needs people to love him even more. The door was kicked open. Bai Ningbing walked in with a cold face, fiercely pushed the woman's hand away, and pulled me behind him. It was a familiar cold scent. Just when I thought everything was about to end, the woman suddenly stood up. "Oh, Miss Bai, so it's you." I seemed to have misunderstood Bai Ningbing's dowry. 5 or 6 years ago, alone in the villa, even the boss of the largest media company in the country had to give her 3 parts. How did the Bai family exist? If I had known it was you, the contract would have been sent to the company long ago. How could there be a flood that washed away the city god temple today? Bai Ningbing laughed coldly. "I have never heard my father say that your family is so powerful. Let my representative go serve drinks." "Bui bui ai cha. We really didn't know he was your man." Bai Ningbing protected me from behind. One hand was still hidden behind her back, still holding me tightly, gently rubbing the back of my hand as if to comfort me. Then I heard her coldly say, "So now you know, he is my Sue's agent." Idiot. As soon as I left the door, I was knocked on the head. Bai Ningbing was angry, holding my hand very tightly. Her voice also became louder. "Why didn't you tell me? Do you think you're so smart, being your own boss? If I don't come today, do you want to be lawless?" I was scared by her, not knowing what to do. For a moment, I looked at her in a daze, softly protesting and then lowering my head. Bai Ningbing's anger also calmed down a bit, just holding my wrist tightly. "Did they treat you like that before?" I was stunned. "Did I do anything to you? Forced you to drink for fun? No one has any bad intentions other than actually making things difficult for me. You want to take revenge on them for me?" Suddenly raising her head, she looked at her without blinking. "Do you feel sorry for me?" Bai Ningbing suddenly stopped talking. "Actually, after graduating, I met quite a few new people at work. It wasn't easy. I was only used to reporting good news, not bad news. It was the same with friends, and even more so with family." I smiled. "These past few years you were the first person to feel sorry for me." Bai Ningbing and I seemed to have a subtle change in our relationship because of this. The specific manifestation was that she would bring me breakfast to work and conveniently come to my apartment. Under the pretext of exchanging work, at noon, she took me out to eat. "For this company anniversary performance, is your new song ready yet?" Bai Ningbing had been in our company for almost half a year. With her outstanding appearance and strong strength, she quickly accumulated a large number of fans, and she was considered to have some fame. But I felt that it was still not enough. Bai Ningbing's singing was as bright as if she was born to be on the big stage. "It's ready," she said, somewhat indifferently. "It's ready very early. I didn't think much about it." I just nodded. "That's good." Bai Ningbing's new song was released 2 days before the company's anniversary performance. I received a call from home. "Something happened to my younger brother. Didn't you just transfer money to me last month?" My mother was anxious on the phone. "That little bit of money isn't enough. The doctor said this disease is rare and requires long-term treatment. You should either take a leave of absence or quit your job and go back to take care of your younger brother, and earn some money to hire someone to take care of him." How can I quit my job? A phone call made my heart feel like a tangled mess. My younger brother's health had always been good. Why did he suddenly get seriously ill? Since he was born, his parents had been biased and spoiled. There was a small problem that made me take a leave to go home and solve it. Not only did it save money, but I also felt that as the older brother, it would be less worrying. The money sent home was also to save for when they get old and can't earn money, to save up for my younger brother. "Fang Yuan, didn't you have a rich first love? Go back to her and marry her, wouldn't there be no more pressure?" I was also the person who gave up the idea of going to graduate school and studying medicine for my family. Now, I missed Bai Ningbing's first performance for my family. I stood on the balcony, lost in thought for a while, then opened WeChat and sent Bai Ningbing a message. "Founding anniversary performance, keep it up." Su Youwei's reunion was a surprise. Perhaps this year was the year of debt settlement. One by one, everyone was competing to come to me to collect the debt. So it's your younger brother? In the clinic, Su Youwei wore a white blouse. The pen in his hand was writing and stopping. Mom and Dad are anxious. They come to ask every day. We were in high school and never heard of you having a younger brother. I was in 11th grade when my younger brother was born. Su Youwei was my younger brother's main doctor, as you can imagine. That year, she was still excellent in her doctor's resume, writing that she graduated from a top medical university in the country. That was the place I had always dreamed of going to. Long time no see, Su Youwei stood up and patted my arm, as if comforting an old friend. His tone suddenly lowered, revealing a cold look. I regret it. I didn't win the exam. I also didn't become a doctor. I started at the hospital, focusing on taking care of my younger brother. How dedicated. Mom didn't want the boss to find me, so she even took my phone. If your younger brother doesn't get better, you absolutely can't leave. Su Youwei had long been used to her extreme way of doing things, just coming to see the patient every day, conveniently bringing me a portion of snacks. Your younger brother can't eat, you eat? She seemed to hate me and I felt relieved. Occasionally, I heard a little nurse gossiping. Dr. Su, young and beautiful. Dr. Su's family is so rich, and she's so pretty. Why doesn't she have a girlfriend yet? I don't know. But I heard the director say that someone introduced a partner, but she rejected them all. It seems like she has someone in her heart. By Ning Bing's anniversary concert, I still couldn't hold the phone, but her figure appeared on the TV. She was handsome and finished singing all the songs. Suddenly, someone brought out a guitar. Today, I want to bring everyone a song I wrote when I was a student. Its name is Love Letter. Bai Ningbing just finished speaking, raised her head to look at the camera, and it was as if she was looking at me through the screen. This performance was live. My heart was tense. The next second, a familiar melody rang out, accompanied by her clear voice. Almost the moment she started singing, I realized that this song was not only Love Letter but also been fireworks of that year. After a song, the first audience was quiet for a moment. Then, thunderous applause erupted. Bai Ningbing smiled, hugging the guitar. Thank you everyone, because this song was originally written for someone. But he didn't come today, and I couldn't contact him. So I hope that today's live broadcast can let him see it again. Looking up through the screen, Bai Ningbing's eyes were gentle and determined. I was stunned. Dr. Su's brother is here. Until my younger brother pulled my shirt, Suyu, it seems. It's always been like this, cold, high and mighty, always using cold eyes to observe. No one can make her lower her head. She wrote it for you, Suyu. Staring at the TV screen, she was on duty alone today, lonely and alone as she said these words. Between her eyebrows revealed a coldness, making it impossible to guess her mood. Remember the last time the three of us met? She suddenly spoke. That was the most impulsive moment in my life, and also the most regretful moment. Bai Ningbing asked me out. That day, I heard her sing this song written for you. I was jealous and deliberately called you over, deliberately showed her the love letter. So I lost two people at the same time. I was exactly looking at her. Would you be jealous too? Su Youwei laughed. Jealous? I'm jealous of her, jealous that she has you. I suddenly thought of what those nurses said. Dr. Su had someone in her heart since she was a student. She kept her for a long, long time. Su Youwei suddenly took the thing in his hand. Consider it my way of making up for it today. Her phone was still calling out the name on the screen, Bai Ningbing. I owed them both an apology for being late. The night wind was very cold. I don't know when, on TV, the girl who was performing on stage was no longer there. Instead, Bai Ningbing was running towards me. She didn't even have time to put on her mask and hat. She ran over, stood in front of me, and stabilized her breathing. Did you hear that? When I was in high school, I said I wanted everyone to hear it. Everyone knows it. Bai Ningbing seemed to have always been an arrogant person, hard-mouthed but soft-hearted, unable to bear it. Even though I had lied to her that year, she didn't say anything and ran away. After meeting again, she couldn't bear to bully me. You brought me meals on time every day, 3 meals a day. You secretly used public affairs to do private things, and gave me a raise. You came to pick me up every day after work. I looked at Bai Ningbing, and suddenly my nose ached. My whole body hugged her tightly. Bai Ningbing, why are you so stupid? It's obvious that I'm the one who betrayed you. But you waited for me alone for so long, so long. Later, the love letter became famous. This song became famous both domestically and internationally. Along with Bai Ningbing's Seaton title also spread. At 18, I wrote the music for him. At 28, I can still sing for him. The host asked about this song again. Bai Ningbing finally denied that sad way of speaking. It's not sad. She laughed. I waited for 8 years for this song to be released. Until he loved me again, I couldn't bear to release it. She was on stage, I was in the audience. The next second, she looked down, we were facing each other. It's not sad. That's right, Bai Ningbing is a crybaby, secretly storing up tears for a long time while waiting, and bitterness sprouted. That's the end of today's TET video. Guys, after watching it, you probably feel a little brighter or a little darker. Thank you. If you like this video, remember to like it so I know. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Don't wait, I make videos like punching the listener in the ear. If anyone feels that this video is worth as much as a cup of milk tea, don't hesitate to shoot a few coins into this poor person's account so that I have the funds to upgrade the video quality and have a few coins to eat instant noodles every day. I promise to make more fun, better and more capitalist videos. Support information is in the description of each video. Thank you everyone for listening. See you in the next video. Remember to stay healthy and save money to support me. Save money to help the poor.